not texting me back.
We are back talking sports and having lunch.
12 o'clock, I got lunch with Steve Russell.
The Dean of Sports Talk is coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Studios.
A long, long run and a great run.
Make sure you search for Sports Scene on Facebook, YouTube, and over 30 audio platforms, including Apple and Spotify.
I've been listening to you basically since I was a little kid.
When you live in the community, be part of the community. Sports Scene with Steve Russell is something that is so iconic.
And here's your host, Steve Russell.
Well, we made it to Friday. Welcome to another edition of Sports Scene with Steve Russell podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. I am Steve Russell. Don't forget, our podcast is brought to you by Body Armor, and it comes from the Body Armor podcast studio. Body Armor leads the world of sports and active hydration with game-changing innovation. Body Armor, upgrade your sports drink. I have. It's really, really good stuff. If everything goes right today, some familiar faces, some things we'll talk about. Jeremy Foley is going to hopefully join us here in a few minutes. He has won a very prestigious award, and he will tell you about that. And we'll talk about the state of college athletics today. Tim Kurkjian, how much baseball he knows. He knows more baseball than I forgot from ESPN. He'll join us talking about CAGs. Just off to a 1-for-13 start in the big leagues, but he thinks he's going to be okay. And we talked about some other things in baseball as well. My friend Dick Jerardi will talk to us about the final leg of horse racing's Triple Crown, the Belmont, and then Gator men's golf coach J.C. Deacon is scheduled to join us. He'll wrap up the Gator golf season, which was a very successful one. Didn't win the national title, but only one team does. You can still have a really good season, and he will tell us about that. Zach Rothrock, our producer today, we thank him for his work. And don't forget, all of our guests brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have a YouTube comment, those are brought to you by QC Kinetics. If you have joint or muscle pain, you don't need surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. Any Facebook comments you might have, well, they're brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging, now with 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 in Lake City. You can start feeling better today because it's your choice to start feeling better. Our gold sponsor is Campus USA Credit Union, putting star power to work in your financial life for over 90 years. Campus USA Credit Union. Our clips of the day brought to you by Ruse Ogre State Farm. State Farm agent Ruse Ogre is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price you want. Before we get Jeremy here, very quickly, how about game 1 of the NBA Finals? Everybody had OKC winning it, and those upstart Pacers take game 1 on the road. Tyrese Halliburton, the hero. So you got to give the Pacers a lot of credit. You know, they're not one of those teams that's really nationally known, but they're pains in the rear end. And then the hockey playoffs, Edmonton winning game 1. And then the portals are open in college baseball and in college softball. The Gators have gone out and gotten a couple of portal acquisitions in baseball. And Florida has lost, I believe, 4 in softball to the portal. But 3 of them were freshmen, and then Mia Williams, of course. So that's part of it. You know, fans love it when you get somebody. They don't love it so much when you lose somebody. And it used to be if somebody transferred, 99% of the time it was because they weren't playing where they were and they had a chance to play somewhere else. That's certainly still part of it. But now with NIL, you know, money is a factor as well. All right. Zach, are we still waiting on Jeremy? Okay. All right. So we'll wait on Jeremy here to get him. And it's like I said, we had a really good guest list today. By the way, just a program note, because we're now in the month of June, the activity in sports, especially at the college level, really begins to slow down. So we will have our sports scene podcast only on Monday for the rest of June. Okay. So what that's going to be like the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. And then we'll take July off. And then we may have some news for you after that. So this is our final Friday sports scene podcast. And it's been fun doing it. I get asked this a lot. Is it different than doing the radio show? It is. I mean, you have the video element of it, obviously. Sometimes, though, if you can't get the video, in radio, you can most often get a phone interview. I mean, every once in a while, something would happen, but, for the most part, you could get a phone interview. And sometimes with this, you run into things that, you have to overcome. And don't forget, you can watch us live on Facebook, YouTube, listen later on Apple Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Spotify, any of the nearly 40 platforms you can find your favorite podcast. Follow, like, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So we hope that you are doing that. And I know some people listen live. I know some people consume it, at their leisure, whichever way you do it. We certainly appreciate that. All right. We're still trying to get Jeremy, I think. So let's take a break. We'll come back, and then we'll have more of our Sports Scene podcast. Stay with us.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back. Apparently, we're having some issue technically getting Jeremy. Hopefully, we can get that straightened out because I certainly want to talk to him about the award that he's going to win. If we don't get him on for some reason, I will tell you what that award is. It's a very prestigious award that he's going to win. Monday, I have to actually bring the book in. Let me tell you a little background on this, the point I'm going to make here. In college, obviously, journalism was my thing, but I was also a history minor. And, okay, Zach, he says, send to my email. So, okay, all right, so we'll try. Anyway, let me get, while we're waiting here, history is something I've always been interested in. And history was my minor in college. And I am a big-time reader. Now, I like reading about history. Well, a few years ago, a buddy of mine sent me something, and he said, I have these magazines for you to read. And the magazines were from the 1970s. Yeah, the 1970s. And it was interesting because on Monday, I'm going to read from this. There's a dude that wrote a column in there in 1978 that said college football needed a playoff. 1978. Crazy. And he outlined how that playoff would work. I'm going to read that to you on Monday from 1978. But right now, Jeremy Foley joins us now to talk about an award that he's going to win here shortly. Hello, Jeremy. Good to have you.
Hey, Steve. How you doing, man? Long time no see.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for doing this.
You doing good?
Congratulations. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Getting used to this podcasting stuff and, all of that and trying to figure out, what to do with time sometimes. So, yeah, it's good.
I understand all that, but it's also good. It's all good.
It is good.
all good.
Tell folks about the Homer Rice Award, what it is, and, congratulations on winning it.
Well, thank you, Steve. Obviously, if you hang around long enough, they find out, they hand out some hardware to you. But Homer Rice Award is given by it's given by your peers. It's given out of the FBS AD Association, and I got a phone call a couple months ago, said I'd been selected, and obviously was surprised and honored. And when it's given by your peers, I guess that makes it special. So Homer Rice, for people who don't know him, used to be a head football coach, and he was the AD at Georgia Tech when I first got in the profession. He's one of those guys that if you went to the NCAA convention, when Homer walked in the room, you knew there was a presence in the room. He was he's one of the legends in the profession. So again, to have my name on his name on an award given to me is extra special for sure.
Would it be harder now, Jeremy, to be an athletic director than it was in your time?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, obviously, and you know me, Steve. I loved my job. I loved my career, and you have ups and you had downs. And I think around here we had many more ups. So this isn't anything more just an honest assessment. It's just dealing with some issues now. Scott and his peers are dealing with some issues that are hard to get your hands wrapped around. NIL, transfer portal, revenue share, trying to run your program, trying to be committed to all your sports. It's just, like I said, we had challenges, and, it's part of the gig. Anytime you sit in a chair, you're going to have some challenges. I just think that these folks have a different set of challenges that I'm not saying they haven't navigated them well, but they're not fixable overnight, in my opinion. And, that being said, obviously college sports continues to be a big part of the fabric of our country. And, if you watch the softball World Series, you can see that, the interest and whatever have you. But there are a different set of challenges. I think it makes it harder to be an athletic director. And, I certainly wish those people well.
I got a text from a friend who wanted me to ask you this question. He said, please tell Mr. Foley.
You should call me that, Steve. I'm just, you never have, so you might want to start doing that. I'm older than you now. Okay.
I guess. Anyway, he said, what were some of the criteria that you looked for in terms of hiring a coach?
Well, first and foremost, I didn't, the good ones, the bad ones, whatever have you, I'll accept responsibility for the bad ones because, I was the athletic director, but certainly the really good coaches we had around here, I had a really good staff to help me find them. Hiring coaches it's not a perfect science for me or for anybody. I know fans want you to be perfect in that regard, and I certainly wish I'd batted 1,000 on those things, but I didn't. But when you're out there looking, you're looking for a fit for the University of Florida. What does that mean? We do things a certain way around here. All 21 sports are important, and how we treat people is important. And you're looking for somebody that has a track record of success somehow, some way. Even when we hired someone who'd never been a head coach before, you're looking for a track record of success in their life. Rhonda Fain had been an Olympian and All-American. Tim Walton had done a great job at Wichita State for a couple of years, plus also when he played baseball for Oklahoma on the last day of the World Series, they gave him the ball to try to win a national championship. So little things like that. You're looking for a people person and want somebody that, can smile, have fun, treat people around here with respect, and all those things. And at some point you listen to your gut. And again, the one thing I always thought that I could bring to the table, even when I hired people that weren't, what everybody wanted them to be, especially myself, I've been around the University of Florida for a long time, so I thought I had a sense of what fit in here and what might work here. So again, it's not rocket science. I mean, it is rocket science sometimes. It's not a perfect science, is what I was trying to say. And but obviously, one of the most important things we did as an athletic director.
Let me close with the last couple of things here. I understand it's not easy to come up with a playoff in football to appease, everybody. But I have a hard time understanding why smart people can't come up with a criteria that you judge, and this is how you put teams in a playoff, and yet, that isn't happening. But that's got to happen pretty soon because of, what's going on now. Do you see that coming to fruition anytime soon?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, as you said, it has to happen soon. It's kind of like when we were in school and you had to have a paper due on Monday or Tuesday. You got to work on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. The pressure is what it is. But I think you said it the first time. I think your comment right off the bat, Steve, these are smart people. I mean, I get it. Everybody gets in a room and sometimes you start worrying about, what does this mean for us? And what does this mean for this league? And what does this mean for, TV? They'll sift all through that. But, I certainly know some of the players involved, and they're the best in the business, and they will get it figured out. But I do think also the caveat you said up front was you're not going to please everybody. It's too hard. But there's probably, you look at the NFL, there's a system where they, trying to change the seating or home. I mean, in the NFL too, in terms of who gets a home field or who gets a bye based on their record, and that didn't get put forward. So you're never going to please everybody. But I do think that we have come leaps and bounds here in the last several years. With the from the 2-team playoff to the 4 to the 12, and it looks like there's going to be a 16, but they'll get it figured out, and I think it'll be good for the sport when they do. And I think more fans than not will like what they come up with, in my opinion.
Last two things quickly. What was the best part of your job for you? And then let people know when you're going to get the award.
Best part obviously was working with coaches and, working with athletes and, working with my staff here. People always ask me what do I miss most about my job. I miss the staff. I miss the coaches. I miss the athletes. Just calling like it is, even though I'm around here a little bit. I don't know any of the athletes. I always knew them all, and that's hard for me. So I miss it. That's a passage of time. That's not a complaint. That's a passage of time. But I miss that. I'm fortunate to still be around some of the coaches that I hired, and that's meaningful to me. And I will get the award, Steve, Tuesday in Orlando. So obviously it'll be a special day.
You deserve it, my friend. Thank you, and appreciate you coming on here, and always appreciate you being here.
Always good to see you, Steve. You take care, and see you down the road, buddy. All right.
All right, Jeremy. Thank you. Jeremy Foley joining us here on our Sports Scene podcast. Richly deserved Homer Rice Award he gets on June 10th. We'll come back, and on the other side, hope to be talking to Gator men's golf coach J.C. Deacon as we continue with our Sports Scene podcast for this Friday.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast, and appreciate Jeremy Foley being here, richly deserving that Homer Rice Award. Yet to come today, the great Tim Kurkjian from ESPN is going to talk baseball, CAGs going to the big leagues, his thoughts about that. And then Dick Jerardi is going to join us about the final leg of the Triple Crown and horse racing with the Belmont. But right now, I'm going to bring in Gator men's golf coach JC Deacon to sort of recap the Gator year, which was certainly a good one. But JC, I know, it was close, man. You guys had a shot. But still, I guess if you look at the big picture, a pretty successful year for you.
Yeah, national semifinals. You would think you'd be celebrating, but we just had such a great team and such great leadership, and you get that far, you just want to finish it off. And I feel sick for the guys because we got so close and didn't get the job done, but we had about a bad 30 minutes there against Virginia right at the end that kind of cost us. And that was probably the worst golf we'd played in about 2 months. So it was the only tournament we didn't win out of the last 4. So obviously proud to be SEC champions and regional champions. And the guys accomplished so much. It just, when you do get that close, you want to finish the deal.
Sure. What made this team so good and so special?
I think, the best part of our team this year was our depth. And we had Zach Swanwick, our young freshman from New Zealand, really step up at the end of the year and became that rock solid 5 guy that you need. And then, you had your All-American and Ian Gilligan and Jack Turner and Luke Poulter really, as sophomores, kind of came into their own and became great players. I believe they'll end up getting All-American status this year as well. And then you had Matthew Kress, who's in his 3rd or 4th year of Florida, 3rd year of eligibility. And he's just been an incredibly reliable human being, and he's turning into a very reliable golfer for the Florida Gators. So it's just a fantastic lineup. The boys really loved each other, played hard for each other, and it was a lot of fun. So it's just more than anything, I'm sad it's over.
I had a question, wanted to ask you, how do you come up with lineups for tournaments, and does that change every tournament?
Yeah, it did. I don't think we had the same lineup twice in a row until Calusa Pines and the SEC Championship which were, obviously 2 of our last tournaments of the year. So we had a different lineup all year long. Ryland Shim played some good golf at times this year. Parker Bell played some good golf for us. And it was just those 5 guys that we ended up with kind of got on a roll at the right time late in the year there, and just played great, really gelled as a group. It's weird because I get asked this a lot about golf being a team sport, and because you're out there as an individual posting your own score, but the guys have a big influence on each other, and momentum is a real thing in college golf. And we just ended up with a great group that really molded and gelled together well. And but yeah, our guys. We had I think 9 guys on the roster, 10 guys on the roster this year, and we play a qualifying tournament within the team usually before every event. So our guys constantly have a chance to make the lineup and earn their spot, and and then you can keep it by playing well on the road. So this group just turned it on and was able to do some really great things.
How many guys do you lose, and who do you get on the team next year?
So we're losing Ian Gilligan, which hurts. He was a 2-time All-American. His 2 years at Florida, he graduated through the PGA Tour University and has his Korn Ferry Tour card. So Gilly's actually making his pro debut this weekend in North Carolina or South Carolina, whichever one it is, the BMW event on the Korn Ferry Tour. So he's off to playing for money with the big boys now, which is really exciting. So we lose him, which obviously hurts, but and we lose Ryan Hart, associate head coach Dudley Hart's son. Ryan's just been an awesome Florida Gator, loves this university as much as anyone, and really gave a lot to our program. So those guys are moving on to the real world. And then we are adding a transfer who we got from Iowa. His name's Noah Kent. And Noah lost in the finals of the U.S. Amateur last summer, and he will be playing next week in the U.S. Open at Oakmont. So, yeah, Gator Nation will get a little preview at him. It'll be fun to follow him do that. And then Dudley will be on the bag for him, which is really cool. Caddying.
That is cool.
Yeah. And then Zach Swanwick from New Zealand, his best friend, Josh Bai, happened to be the #1 ranked junior golfer in the world. And we were able to sign Josh. So Josh is starting for us this fall as well, along with Trevor Gashevsky from Omaha, Nebraska, and Parker Sievers from Sarasota, Florida. So we've got, we had the deepest team we've ever had last year, and I think next year's team is even deeper. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
JC, because golf is not exactly a sport that I excel in, from a baseball, football standpoint, you can say, well, you look for this in a pitcher, or you look for this in a tight end. What is it like for you? What are some of the things you look for in a kid that, we look at that person golf that would fit your team?
Well, I think we could probably sit here all day and talk about this. I think Kirby Smart said it best. You got to be recruiting every single day. So I have never stopped thinking about this stuff and what works best, but it's changed a lot since this. I think I'm going into my 12th year at Florida now. And when I first got to Florida, we just wanted the highest ranked player we could get. I just really paid attention to the numbers and try to get the best, ranking player I possibly could. And I learned that it just kind of takes a different type of person and character to excel at this university. And the spotlight and the attention that Florida Gator athletics gets can go two ways with a player. And so I always want to, first we're going to start with the scores. You got to be able to shoot a certain score and average, but then we want to see some guys who can drive the ball really well. That's a big thing for me. So I want to see someone who can hit the ball pretty far and really control it, hits a high percentage of their fairways. And then obviously we're recruiting the families. That's a big thing for me because last year, I think we got the most we could have got out of our team. And a lot of it had to do with the character of our guys. Extremely coachable. They were mature. They grew up. They listened. They started playing the way we wanted them to play. And it's been fun because not only are their individual results getting better, when they all do that, we get better as a team. So we're looking for mature young men who come from great families, who can drive the ball really well. And hopefully, we can teach them to get the ball in the hole a little faster.
Because there's so much about transfer portal, NIL, and such, has that had an impact on your sport?
Big time. Yep. Transfer portal, maybe not as much as some other sports that I'm seeing. We've been really lucky with the transfer portal. We got Yushin Lin transferred from University of Southern California a couple of years ago and won a national championship for us in 2023, which was obviously awesome. And then, we were able to get Noah Kent this year to transfer from Iowa, and he's going to be a big part of our team going forward. So transfer portal's been great to us, but you don't see a ton of action in there. It's busy, but it's not that consequential. But NIL is becoming obviously more and more in a bigger piece of men's golf, and I'm excited about it. It's a new world, but I think it's a great opportunity for these kids to make some money and get their lives off to a better start than a lot of us did in the past. So it's different and it's new, but I'm trying to embrace it and see the positives in it. And a lot of our guys are enjoying those opportunities that they now have.
I'm going to end with this. The other day, do not laugh when I say this. I was in my office and I found a cassette tape of an old show that I had done. And I have an old cassette player, a portable one, and I stuck it in there and I cringed because it was like, whoa, that was me, back in 2000, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I know that, I've changed and, how I do things and hopefully better than what I was then. So the years you've been at Florida, JC, how do you think you've changed as a head coach?
Well, Steve, it's a funny question. I think about it a lot. And I heard you mention the name Jeremy Foley. You were thanking him for being on. Well, I have to thank him because he gave me this opportunity, and I think he saw something in me that I didn't even know I had. I remember when Jeremy called and told me that I was going to get this opportunity. The first thing that I went through my mind was, oh man, I can't screw this up. Like, this is such a historical program, and they have so much history and tradition, and it really motivated me to work harder than I ever had, and to not let Jeremy down. But yeah, I think everything's changed, really. I continue to learn, and I do look back at a lot of the mistakes I made early on, and I cringe at that as well. There's no doubt, but at the same time, I appreciate it, because that's what life's all about. You're never going to be perfect in whatever walk of life you take, and you just got to learn from those lessons and get better. And that's, I was telling you before we got on the air here, it still really stings not finishing it off and winning that national championship this year as close as we got. And I made some mistakes in the pairings in the semifinals there. And if I had it all over again, we would have done some things different. So it's the learning process is never ending. And, that's like probably one of the best parts about the University of Florida is the coaches that we're surrounded by. And, I think of Roland Thornquist and Brian Shelton and Tim Walton and Mouse, Mary Wise, all these incredible human beings and coaches who I've been able to watch and learn from. And I'm so thankful for that and this opportunity, and never going to stop learning. But, hopefully we can get back on top and win one of these championships here the next few years.
Well, I always appreciate you and our friendship, JC. Thank you for taking the time to do this, and we'll talk. Appreciate you.
Anytime for you, bud.
Thank you, JC.
Okay.
Deacon, yep, Gator men's golf coach, done a terrific job. And he's right. I mean, if you quit learning, I mean, that's you always learn. Coming up, Tim Kurkjian from ESPN is going to talk MLB, talk about Jack Caglione, much more to come. Stay with us on our Sports Scene podcast.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast today. Well, as many of you know, if you're a Florida fan, Jack Caglione has now made the leap to the Kansas City Royals, and we're going to talk about that with a guy who knows an awful lot about Major League Baseball because he's covered it for a long time. Tim Kurkjian joins us from ESPN. Tim, welcome. My theory with Cags is, yes, there's a lot of expected of him, but the Royals outfielders were not very productive. Does that help him because of that?
Yes, I think so. They have arguably the least productive outfield in the major leagues this year. And they had such a good year last year, but I don't see them going to the playoffs this year, despite all their good pitching, unless they score some more runs and get some more punch, especially out of the outfield. And that's why Caglione is up. As you know, he was a two-way player in Florida, and he was a first baseman there. They made him an outfielder, especially for this, because they're going to need him to play the outfield every day at some point. So I think it makes it a little easier on him that he comes up in the middle of a pennant race as opposed to it just being about him. When you bring up a young player and the team is terrible and the only person they're watching is the kid you just brought up, that pressure is too much. But when the games really matter and he can contribute to a team that made the playoffs last year and might do it again this year, I think that takes the pressure off also, that it's way more about the team than it is just about him coming up.
A lot is made about, that he fell to the 6th pick because of scouts worried about his chase rate. I get that, but I watched him at Florida, and certainly his numbers are great. He's not gotten off to a great offensive start, but do you think he will adjust pretty quickly to major league pitching?
I think so. All right. He's 1 for 13. He's played 3 games. We have to give him way more than 3 games. And again, the minor league, and he tore it up at AA. He tore it up at AAA. There's no doubt he should be in the major leagues at this point. But the warning always is this is the hardest game in the world to play. I really believe that. And even though this kid has been great wherever he has been, the big leagues is a different story. The pitchers he'll see up here, I mean, he saw unbelievable velocity and amazing stuff in the minor leagues because it's all through AA and AAA. But up in the big leagues, the command is better, and they're going to feast on him because he's just a young kid. But I'm also a big believer, Steve, that the really good ones figure it out. We were told Derek Jeter wasn't ready when he came up, and he had one of the great rookie years ever. We were told that Nomar Garciaparra wasn't ready, and he was ready. And Davey Johnson told me when Dwight Gooden just pitched 1 year at age 19 in A-ball, his general manager said he's not ready. And Davey said, yes, he is. Let me have him on the major league roster. I will protect him. And Dwight Gooden had one of the great rookie years ever. The great ones always figure it out. And I'm not saying Jack is going to be better than Nomar or Jeter or Dwight Gooden. I'm just saying he's a really good young player. Let's give him a chance and let's see how he adjusts.
While I have you some other things around MLB, I did not see Baltimore being this bad after the year they had last year. What's happened with them?
Well, nobody saw them being this bad, even though they've won now finally 6 games in a row. But the number one thing is their starting pitching was decimated by injuries. And during all of that, they lost Corbin Burnes to free agency to the Diamondbacks. And now Burnes is hurt, and who knows how long he's going to be out. When you lose that kind of starting pitching, and you don't add enough in the offseason to make up for it. I mean, Charlie Morton's had a very good career, but he's in his 40s. And, Sagano, the kid from Japan, is a really good pitcher, but he's 35 years old and trying to learn how to pitch in the big leagues. You take how poorly they pitched out of their rotation, and then you add in that they have not been a good offensive team either. And I didn't see that coming. Even Gunnar Henderson, who's a great player, is off to a pretty subpar start. And Adley Rutschman, until recently, had really, really struggled this year. So they have to start to hit if they're going to make up for starting pitching that has been ineffective, but mostly injured.
Pittsburgh has had good teams in the past. I mean, when I was a kid, the Clemente teams, the Stargell teams, then the Bonds teams, but they've not been competitive recently, Tim, even though they've got Skeens. It's been a long time, and it doesn't look like they're doing much to improve the roster. Does that resonate across the rest of the sport?
Yeah, it's not a good situation in Pittsburgh. It's never a good situation when a team is losing, especially a team with the winning tradition and the history that the Pirates have. They've been around well over 100 years here. It's discouraging because they just don't score enough runs. I mean, they've been shut out like 8 or 9 times this year. If you look at Paul Skeens since the All-Star break last year, he is 9-9. with a 2.04 ERA. Not only did they not score runs, they never score runs for that guy. So this has to change. There are some people who think the Pirates should spend a lot more money, player development, drafting the right guys, moving them along, bringing free agents in, and it frustrates the people in Pittsburgh, but it's just not good enough the way things are going right now. So they need to get better, and we'll see if they can do that.
Are there some teams, Tim, at the start of the year that you think at this point are overachieving, and then the flip of that, underachieving?
Well, the Pirates, we've already talked about the Orioles. They're still the biggest underachievers out there. I think they're even more overachievers. Now, I picked the Tigers to win the division, and the Tigers went to the playoffs last year and beat the Astros in a playoff series. But I didn't see them being this good. You go back and look at their record. Since the middle of August last year, they have the best record in baseball. This is not a mirage. Their starting pitching is really good. Their lineup is better than it was last year. Now that Spencer Torkelson has really figured it out. So that's one team. The Cubs are a little better offensively than I thought they would be. I thought they were a team that could win the division, but the way they're playing right now, especially the way they're swinging the bats, has been a bit of a surprise. I saw the Giants in spring training. I left thinking the Giants are going to be much better than they were last year, but they are right there for a playoff spot. I didn't see that coming. So there are a lot of teams that have overachieved. The Braves, of course, have underachieved along with the Orioles, but the Braves have had Spencer Strider injury issues, of course, Ronald Acuna Jr., and for a great offensive team, they haven't been a great offensive team this year. So they have some work to do also.
When I heard the announcement about Pete Rose, you're the first person I thought about because of your history in the game. What were your thoughts when Manfred made that decision?
Well, I was a little surprised because Rob Manfred had made it pretty clear all the way through that, at least in the discussions that I heard, that Pete Rose was not going to get a path to the Hall of Fame as long as Rob Manfred was in charge. And yet he gave him that. And, political pressure from the president, of course, had something to do with it. I think even more was the fact that Pete Rose died, sadly. And I think when Rob Manfred, in 2015, he called Pete Rose basically a risk and wondered if he would be a risk moving forward. Well, in death, I guess he figured Pete Rose is no longer a risk. So I'm still surprised that Rob Manfred gave in and did this. And now it would be really, really interesting to see what happens now. December 2027, Pete likely will go on a special committee ballot. I've served on those committees 4 different times. Fascinating process. He still has to get 12 out of 16 votes, 75% to get in. And there's no guarantee that he's going to get 12 out of 16 votes. So it'll be a really interesting next 3 years for the Hall of Fame and for the whole Pete Rose candidacy.
ESPN's Tim Kurkjian joining us here on our Sports Team podcast today. Tim, I'm going to leave you with 2 last questions, and one of them has to do with the committee that you served on. I really like that committee because I think, in the process of voting for players, again, my generation, I was a kid and watched Dick Allen play. I thought he was great. I thought he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame before this. Are there some guys top of your head that may get in, because of that committee that you think deserve to be in now?
Yeah, there are a few guys out there that I look at and say, it's really difficult to imagine him not being in the Hall of Fame. Don Mattingly being one of them. But Mattingly's career was cut short by a back injury. And I'm the first to tell you got to have longevity if you're going to get in. But I'm with you on this, Steve. I think these special committees are helpful because it allows us to review the voting process. For instance, Lance Berkman did not get in, didn't even get 5% of the vote his first time and fell off the ballot. He deserves at least a longer and another look. Johan Santana was the same way. Carlos Delgado was the same way. Those guys are borderline Hall of Famers. They deserve another look. And that's what these committees allow for, is for the committee to say, all right, This guy didn't get a chance his first time around because maybe there were 10 guys on the ballot who were better than him, and you can only vote for 10. So that's what I would like to see happen is guys who only got one shot at it get a second shot at least.
Last question, because you've covered the game for so long, Tim. Is the game of baseball in a good spot now? Do you like where the sport is?
Yeah, well, you're asking the wrong guy, Steve, because I love the game and I'm going to love it no matter what form it's in. But I am encouraged, especially talking to some guys with the Cubs yesterday. I went to the Cubs Nationals game last night, that we're starting to put the ball in play a little bit more. And the pitch clock has allowed the game to move quicker and the games are crisper and I think they're better. We still have too many homers, too many walks, and too many strikeouts, but we're starting, thanks to the shift and some other rules, we're starting to get the ball in play more often. People are starting to value the hit a little bit more. So I think we're going in the right direction, and we can't lose sight of the fact that the players are so unbelievably talented. They're bigger, stronger, and faster than better. You know, when Trout and Harper came in 12, 13 years ago, the game just took off as far as amazing, young, athletic players coming to the big leagues. And that's what we see every day. So I think baseball is in a good place now. And I think it's starting to get better every year because the pitch clock is moving the game quicker. And there's a philosophy now, maybe strikeouts shouldn't be so accepted. Let's put it in play and see what happens.
I'm all for that. Tim, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Steve. Thank you.
Okay.
After you work out, you can feel worn out.
Okay.
Reach for Core Power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to power on. Champion your recovery with Core Power.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Roos Ogra for your personal price plan today.
Welcome back to our Sports Scene podcast, and it comes to you from the Body Armor podcast studio. Body Armor leads the world of sports and active hydration with game-changing innovation. Upgrade your sports drink as I have done with Body Armor. It's really, really good. Thank our gold sponsor. That is Campus USA Credit Union, putting star power to work in your financial life for over 90 years. The good people at Campus USA Credit Union, we thank them. Our Facebook comments, always brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging. Now with 2 locations in Gainesville, 1 in Lake City. You can start feeling better today because it is your choice. All of our guests brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law firm partner of the Florida Gators. For any of your YouTube comments, those are brought to you by QC Kinetics. If you have joint or muscle pain, you don't need surgery, drugs, or downtime. You can schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. And our clips of the day, always brought to you by Roos Ogra, State Farm. State Farm agent Roos Ogra is your go-to agent in Gainesville and North Central Florida for the service you deserve at the price that you want. Don't forget, a little program reminder for you. We will no longer do a podcast on Friday because it's summertime and less things going on. We'll continue with our Monday at noon Sports Scene podcast through the month of June. So the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, the 30th. Then we'll take July off, and then we'll maybe have some news for you about what's going to happen during the fall. And Monday, if everything goes right, Johnny Wiggs former Gator pitcher, head baseball coach at Santa Fe. He's received a nice honor he'll tell you about. Hope to have him here. Also, on Monday, Jonathan Mayo from MLB.com. We'll talk a little MLB and a little closer to the draft and see where some of the teams are. With Supers coming up this weekend, we'll see how many SEC teams. SEC's guaranteed a team because Arkansas and Tennessee play. But will Auburn advance? We'll see. Will Florida State or Miami advance? So they're coming up this weekend as well. And then on Monday, we'll update you on any portal changes. The Gators have already picked up a couple of people in the portal in baseball. As I mentioned, 3 freshmen and Mia Williams have entered the portal from Florida. So expect the Gators to get some folks via the portal. All right. Now we're going to end our program today by talking to an old friend, Dick Jerardi, who's going to talk to us here about the last leg of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes. And it's always a pleasure to have him here. He's here courtesy of betonline.ag. You can check them out for the most up-to-date odds on the running of the Belmont Stakes. Dick, you're a busy guy today, but welcome and thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, Steve. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. I'll let you take this away.
Yeah.
If somebody is not familiar with the Belmont, the length of the track and all that, and the horses in the race, just give us the 50,000-foot view.
Right. So the Belmont Stakes will go tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's on Fox. And instead of being run at Belmont Park, which is being renovated starting last year, it'll be run at Saratoga, which is in upstate New York, about 30 minutes north of Albany, the state capital. And it'll be run, Steve, at 1.25 miles instead of the typical Belmont Stakes 1.5 miles, because the track configuration just doesn't work for 1.5 miles. So it'll be the Derby distance, 1.25 miles.
Okay.
And of course, you have the Derby winner in here, Sovereignty. You got the Preakness winner, Journalism. So we're going to get a chance to see, all right, who's best now? Sovereignty's one up at this point. Sovereignty didn't run in the Preakness. Journalism did. We all saw that crazy finish. So yeah, we'll get a chance to see if we can separate these two after the Belmont Stakes tomorrow.
Is this the best field of the 3 major races?
Well, we have the first 3 finishers out of the Derby. So I would say yes at the top. Now, the other 5 a couple of them are decent, but questionable. There were some, if you take the whole Derby field, all of it, 19, there were some pretty accomplished horses in the race. But as far as the top part of the field, this is the best group, with Baeza being the horse that finished 3rd in the Kentucky Derby. So from that standpoint, I'd say this is the strongest, say, percentage of good horses of the 3 races for sure.
Of those top horses, Dick, because this is more like the Derby in terms of length, any advantage to any horse?
I don't think so. I think Sovereignty's got one way of running. He comes from the back, so he's going to have to probably pass Baeza and Journalism at some point. He was able to pass Journalism in the stretch of the Derby. So, yeah, I don't think there's any advantage. And the short field should hopefully will eliminate traffic problems. Certainly don't want to see a repeat of what happened in the Preakness with that crazy deal at the top of the stretch when it looked like a potential catastrophe.
Yeah. That does not happen very often, thankfully. But what kind of caused that? I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, with the jockey made a mistake on Journalism. All he had to do, Steve, was just go around the horses. Instead, he decided to plow in between horses, and there wasn't that big of a field. There was room to do that. He would have won anyway. He probably would have won by more. It was just a jockey error. I mean, he went for a hole, and you saw it. The hole didn't exist. But the horse was so talented and so determined. He just bowled his way through there, lost all his momentum, basically came to a stop, and then somehow regathered and was able to run down Gosker, who was 5-6 lengths in front with 200 yards to go. It's crazy.
Who do you like here?
Yeah, I like Journalism. I thought he was the best horse going into the Derby. I thought maybe early circumstances in that race kind of got him out of his best position. The Preakness, I've never seen a race exactly like that. If he's good enough to do that, he's good enough to do just about anything. It's not an easy race. Sovereignty's legit. So is Baeza. But I think journalism is the best 3-year-old. I've thought that all year long. I'll stay with him one more time.
I want to end by talking about something we did the first time around. And some of my friends who are novice horse racing fans just don't get the fact that a lot of horses aren't running in all the races. They're not trying for the Triple Crown. So if you could, once again, sort of explain that and why we're sort of on this path a little bit.
Yeah, what's happened is, Steve, horses don't run 3 times in 5 weeks anymore, except during the Triple Crown series. So a number of the trainers, after they run in the Derby, have now decided we're not running at the Preakness. And even the Derby winner, like this year, this is the third time in 6 years that's happened. It's more because of the modern style of training. It would be like, for a baseball analogy, right? There was no pitch counts back when you and I were young, right? But now there is. It's similar in horse racing. The journalism people took a different tack. They said, you know what, we think we're good enough to run in all 3. So they did. And, we'll see who's right and who's wrong tomorrow. But yeah, that's really what's happened. That's why I think we eventually need to space these races out, have a race, the Derby, 4 weeks to the Preakness, 4 weeks to the Belmont. We go all the way into July. I think that's going to happen at some point because we want the best horses in all these races, right?
Yes. Who, and I don't know the answer to this, who determines that, Dick? Who would make that decision if that was stretched out to where more horses could run?
Right. It would be a combination of the 2 racetracks, Pimlico and Belmont Park, and the television partners. They would ultimately make that call. Obviously, the Derby is not going anywhere. That's going to be the first Saturday in May. Right. But yeah, I think that's going to be a discussion, Steve. Belmont Park is being reconstructed as we speak. Probably going to be right back at Belmont for the Belmont in 2 years. Same with Pimlico for the Preakness. I think by that time, they'll have this all hashed out. The Preakness NBC contract is up after next year. Belmont long-term contract with Fox. Derby has a long-term contract with NBC. I think all that will be hashed out probably within the next 2 years, and they may in fact move these dates a little bit so we can get all the best horses in all 3 races.
And wouldn't those networks want that? They want 100%. The best horses in the field, right?
100%. That's why I think it's going to happen. I think the networks are not. Certainly NBC wasn't happy when they didn't have the Derby winner. And Fox wasn't happy when they realized that they had 0 chance of having a Triple Crown on the line. So, yeah, I think that's going to change because ratings, obviously the